Welcome into the Sports Buffoons podcast.
Welcome on in, everybody, to the Sports Buffoons podcast. It is Wednesday, November 10th, 2021. I got Mike on the other side here. Welcome
What's
in,
up?
Mike. And we got JG, of course, sitting there as well. We are online again. Just seems to happen. It's all right, guys, because this
What's
is
up,
kind of
guys?
a cool new setup. How you guys doing today?
Doing
Phenomenal.
great. Never been better.
Yeah,
Good
got some wine, so I'm enjoying myself.
About to say, what are we drinking tonight? Jason, what do you got? Anything?
I'm just staying sober for right now.
Sober right now? What kind of
Sober.
wine is that?
Perducci, and Cabernet. Good
I
stuff.
got me a little Boulevard Cosmic IPA. You can't go wrong.
That was free, Tanner. You shouldn't be enjoying that big time.
Yeah, I've already drank almost all the Giga Hops I had, so
I would hope so. You've had it for a
I
while.
want to go to the Cosmic IPA here. Well, guys, in case you are watching on YouTube here, please subscribe, click the bell, give us a follow. If you're watching on Twitch, yes, we are back on Twitch. Give us a follow, give us a like, and keep tuning in here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central here as we will discuss your latest sports topics. Guys, what a crazy week it has been since we talked last Wednesday, right? We had NCAA basketball start, my favorite time of year, Jason's brother favorite time of year. We had a couple of upsets up in college football on Saturday, and then the NFL Sunday just went beyond bonkers. The Jags and Bills score was 6-9 Jags. Nice. The Ravens and Vikings did what they've done all season, go to overtime, essentially, try to whoever can lose the game the quickest. The Vikings, of course, lost. Just looking back, Giants lost to the Raiders. The Falcons beat the Saints. The Broncos destroyed the Cowboys with Dak Prescott at quarterback. And the Browns beat the Bungles. Yes, the Bungles are back. What do you guys got to take from that real quick here before we jump into all our topics from this past week?
I just think it's kind of a weird, random fluke of the NFL season where basically at some point every year you have a week where just things don't add up and don't make sense and weird things happen. Like if this was to happen in week one, we'd all be like, what is going on? Like this makes no sense. And it doesn't make sense this time either in week 9 either. I just think it's a thing that happens probably once every NFL season, sometimes twice. We get a random weird ass week that makes no sense. And you got to understand and put things in perspective. Now, that's true, but if you lose to the Jaguars 9-6,
Nice.
I'm sorry, I can't help you there. I mean, that's a problem. So
This was almost like a number one offense, almost essentially lately, and they come out from their bye losing 9-6. It's ridiculous.
yeah,
I think there's always going to be, especially for every good team, you're always going to have a couple of games on your schedule that are going to be what we call trap games. And I think what happened this week is all of the trap games happened at the same time. And so a lot of good teams got beaten on the same week. And, there's always going to be teams that the really good teams are going to look past, and I think
they're going to be able to bounce back.
Jacksonville's a great example of that. Everybody, is going to look past Jacksonville. I think that's what happened to the Bills.
But can Josh Allen look past Josh Allen? Let's be real. After that performance, that's going to be tough. Now, I did forget one big theme. That was probably the biggest scene of the whole week, guys. Aaron Rodgers went on Pat McAfee show on Friday, went through a whole interview, which was phenomenal for me because I watched the entire thing. And he talked about his vaccination status, why he performed that way, and then kind of what led the events that led up to basically him getting COVID in the end, right? And it was very telling to hear about all the NFL protocols, and I thought that was probably the most fitting for me was him just talking about the difference, the way it's treated between vaccinated and unvaccinated, right? And they said when they go do their COVID tests, which vaccinated do every day, unvaccinated does every day. He said he has had over 300 tests already this season, which is crazy. But essentially, if you're unvaccinated, you have to wait to go in. So you get your test, you wait 45 minutes in your car, and then they tell you yay or nay to go in. If you're vaccinated, then you can walk right in and still have COVID and spread it to everybody. I don't get it.
Mhm.
Like, does the NFL doesn't seem to understand their own protocols, because I don't think they got the right minds to it. And I mean, Aaron even talked about his appeal on that too, which I thought was phenomenal. Did you guys get a chance to even listen to that yet?
Yeah, I just did actually today, Tanner. I went back on that because, as you guys know, I've been in Las Vegas for a few days, so I missed out on a few things just due to being busy. But I went back and rewatched that Rodgers interview today, and he had a full 20 minutes of him speaking purely. Pat McAfee did a great job just kind of sitting back, letting him speak. And I think he had a lot he wanted to get off his chest during that interview. And he's kind of like-minded to me as far as in a lot of ways, as far as the way he views the world. And I think the one thing he hit on quite a bit was that the NFL is using the vaccination status as a way to shame players who are not vaccinated. And basically, it's not about science or anything like that. They're literally turning this into such a political thing, and they're actually making guys, like a guy like Aaron Rodgers, have to go through all these hoops and all these kind of different things every day. And it's a daily thing for these guys where if you are vaccinated, then your life is still pretty much normal, and you're just a part of the NFL. And that was what we saw in training camp. We saw guys who maybe didn't want to get vaccinated coming into the NFL season, then make that choice because they wanted to make the NFL roster, because they knew
bubble guys, essentially.
Right. They knew their best odds of being able to be a part of the team and have full access to the team every day was going to be to go ahead and just get it over with, whether or not they wanted to do that. And you're putting them in a tough position there because it's a personal choice, but also, money's going to talk at the same time. But I think that in Rodgers' situation, he's still going to make his choice because the guy solidified himself in the NFL by now, obviously. Guy makes a ton of money. He's not worried about the money whatsoever. He's going to make the choice he believes, as he said in his own word, was the best choice for himself.
Or his body, correct. He listened to his body.
Exactly. And he also encourages those who maybe don't have the same body as he does, or athleticism, or just overall health that he has, to if it fits what their needs are, to go ahead and go get your vaccination.
If you feel like that's what you're most comfortable for. He was encouraging it too. It wasn't like he was just discouraging everything. So I feel like it blown up. Jason, did you get a chance to listen to it?
Yeah, I heard a little bit of it. I think the thing that bothers me the most is big picture, and that's that every time I turn on ESPN, I have to listen to these talking heads, and all they do all day long is just sit there and trash Aaron Rodgers. It's like, dude, you guys, some of them used to be in the league, but they're not currently football players. It's like, if you're not going to talk about sports, if all you're going to do is sit there and trash a Hall of Famer because he has an allergy to the shot, you're basically just trashing a guy for something that he can't control, that has nothing to do with the game of football. And so I think ESPN, not that they have the guts to do this, but ESPN particularly needs to start firing some of these people that get on the air and don't have a single word to say about sports. They just want to trash a Hall of Famer personally because he has an allergy that he can't control. And so that's my biggest takeaway. That's the thing that bothers me the most.
And so Pat today or yesterday for Aaron Rodgers Tuesday, right? Aaron Rodgers came back on. But Pat said it best before at the beginning of his show yesterday. The people that are criticizing Aaron Rodgers did not listen to the whole interview. They did not listen to the entire thing. And that's the whole part of this all. If you listen to the entire thing, he talks about the difference between what he believes and what he kind of has done research on. He has a 500-page report. Tell me somebody else who has a 500-page report along that stuff.
Right. He did his due diligence without a doubt.
Yeah.
And he stands by his statements, which is great, because there's nothing to be shy about with what his feelings are on this. I think he's kind of given a big F you to the NFL in some ways by being like, hey, I did my best. I proved to you guys. I've shown you that I had an allergy to the vaccines, and yet you still won't categorize me as being a person of vaccination. Instead, he has to do all these other loopholes to kind of go through every week and every day for that matter. And I think that, obviously he's had COVID. He's obviously gone through it. He took what he needed to take. He's obviously already mentioned he's feeling great already.
Yep.
So whether or not he had a negative test or not doesn't matter. He still had to sit out that Packers game, and the Chiefs would not have beat the Packers if Aaron Rodgers was on the field this Sunday.
We already know that. Yeah,
no
by
way,
far.
no how. No way, no how.
Well, a big shout out to Pat here. The fact that he can get a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who doesn't talk much to the media, to be able to open up on his show, especially about something so, delicate nowadays, right? So shout out to Pat. I just want to briefly bring that in our conversation here. Well, guys, let's talk about a little bit about a possible Chief coming in here. How about Odell Beckham Jr., recently waived by the Cleveland Browns after a little settlement, not much taken off, just passed through waivers, and now has a chance to be in conversation with he's been talking with the Chiefs, the Patriots, and the Packers, I believe, are the three teams. Seattle is also interested, as Pete Carroll did state in the recent interviews. So, I mean, what do you guys have to take away from this Odell Beckham Jr. conversation here?
Well, I just like to look at the best fits for him, and I think the top three for me, first of all, I would say New Orleans Saints, just because he's from Louisiana, and I've heard rumors out there that the Saints, since they lost Jameis Winston, they might try to make a move to get Teddy Bridgewater back. So the Saints are one of the options out there. The problem is that OBJ wants to be with a contender, so I don't necessarily see the Saints as a contender. So another team that's interested is the Packers. But my biggest problem with the Packers and OBJ is the Packers already have one of the biggest divas in the NFL. And so my question is, do we really want to add another top 5 diva in the NFL on the same team? I mean, that could be something that could wreck the locker room. And so that's another potential fit for me. And I'm not just saying this because I'm biased. I think the Chiefs are the best fit for him because the Chiefs, it's kind of a win-win situation. The Chiefs, they need that number 3 option. And I think Odell needs to go where he can be a difference maker. And I think that he can actually make that Chiefs offense a little bit better. And I think that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes can certainly figure out a way to utilize Odell so that he can help the team win. And so those would be my top 3 picks. But I would say the Chiefs and Packers would be my top 2.
Gotcha. Mike, what do you got?
Well, I have a question for Jason. Jason, who is this diva you're referring to on the Packers?
I mean, he's the guy we just talked about. That's Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
I think he's a diva.
I'm a big fan of the guy, but I'm just saying, like, a lot of the media, they view him the same way that they view Odell, as like people who are very selfish and they want all of the attention on themselves. And so, I'm sure Odell is probably a little bit bigger diva than Aaron Rodgers, but I just don't know if that's a good mix, especially when Aaron Rodgers is a guy who is always going to look at Davante Adams first, and then all the other receivers are just going to get the scraps. And so I don't know if Odell is going to be happy in that type of environment.
Yeah, that's an interesting take there about him being one of the top 5 divas in the NFL. But I mean, one thing I'll say about that potential situation for Odell is that, look, he's got 17 catches right now on the season. Like, he's not going to Green Bay expecting to be the WR1. He knows Davante Adams is their main man. So, that would not be anything of surprise for his sake. He's pissed off at the Browns as it is for the way they used him throughout the last couple of years. But I just think with Odell, his best fit probably is with the Chiefs. But I've also heard that the Packers offered vet minimum. So even though that was actually his number 1 choice, he's not wanting to go to a team for vet minimum, which is going to be somewhere around $600,000. And then I saw the Saints, obviously, which is a hometown team. And then the Patriots are actually the team that I've heard is actually potentially going to be a good fit with Odell Beckham Jr. pairing up with Mac Jones. But I think that obviously we've heard some rumors come out here today, and Odell Beckham Jr. has talked about, or at least the rumors are Odell Beckham Jr. is at least wanting to put this off for a day or two before he makes a decision. So it sounds like nothing's solidified by any means right now. But I think the Chiefs are still very much on the table if we're interested in this. But my only question, if he was to come to Kansas City, is Andy Reid going to actually use him and get him involved in the offense? Because
Yes,
they just brought in Josh Gordon. You're telling me this team brings in Josh Gordon, Tyrann Mathieu, then goes on a discussion about this guy being Megatron type of dude, and then the guy goes out and has, is it one catch as a Chief? Maybe two?
No, just one.
One catch as a Chief so far within like 5 games played, guys. 5 games played for Josh Gordon as a Chief. He's got one catch. And I understand we're talking about a guy who was out of the league for a long time. He's coming back, whatever. But Odell Beckham Jr., we know how Andy Reid treats receivers. He likes all of his guys to know the full route tree before getting ample playing time. And so is Beckham just going to walk in and here you are, you're the WR2, you go ahead and line up next to Tyreek, and we're going to boot Robinson and boot Hardman out of the lineup and all this and that. Like, I just don't see this team coming in and just handing him over the WR2 position. He's going to go make 7 catches in game 1. Not going to happen. This is Andy Reid's offense. No,
that's very correct. Because the first thing I heard when I heard Odell's talking to the Kansas City, and I'm like, what, are we gonna do another Josh Gordon situation? Are we gonna have 2 All Pros just sitting down and playing, so as many snaps and not getting the ball? And if they are gonna get the ball thrown to them, it's in double coverage. Like, it's no point. There's no point in playing this at all. And it looks like AC here hopped on here. He goes, "Yep, too late in the season to help." I mean, he could still help a contender. Don't get me wrong. He could still be effective.
I don't know if it's too late necessarily, but
I wouldn't say too late.
I think Odell could get pissed off quick because he's not going to get the ball that as often as he might perceive it to be within the first couple games of the season of his Chiefs career, if it was to come that way.
Okay.
I think he's a guy that's going to help in the playoffs when it comes time for that.
Like a Terrell Suggs kind of guy, but I wouldn't like, you know what I mean, like who we bring in to help with that. But I wouldn't put him in a Chiefs because
Andy Reid's a stubborn guy. Let's remember that.
I don't see DeMarcus. I don't see Hardman shying away. Josh Gordon may get involved here shortly and actually become something. But I mean, we could still be 2-3 games away from that even happening. But Jason, going back to your Packers theory too, I just looked it up. So the Packers targets for the year, Devontae leads with 87. The next one is Aaron Jones with 41 targets, Robert Tonyan with 29, and then you finally got Randall Cobb there with 28. And then it just goes down the hill from there. Look, Odell left Cleveland because he wasn't getting targets. If he goes to the Packers, you might as well just stay with Baker Mayfield because you're not getting the ball, man. You're not getting the ball unless Devontae goes down, period. Like, this was the whole reason all this drama got brought up on this part. And now I could see him go to Seattle possibly because Lockett, I don't know why, but Russell Wilson's coming back. But I mean, you could have Lockett, you could have DK and Odell going, but at the same time, that's 2 main guys stealing away targets. So Seattle could be out. The Saints make sense because Michael Thomas isn't coming back, right? So
right. Do you actually believe in the Saints now that Trevor Siemian's the quarterback, Tanner?
Well, hell, dude,
no, they're trying to get Teddy back.
Denver just beat Dallas. So they're like, oh no, that they're going to hold on to him for
Teddy's staying unless they get something sweet from him. Taysom Hill, is he going to play quarterback? Probably not. So I mean, Saints, I don't see really in the picture. The only team for me that I see in the picture for an Odell sweepstakes, it's the Patriots. They got Mac Jones, a young guy who's actually performing quite well this season with for his first year, especially with Bill Belichick there. But they don't have a number one wideout.
He's either number one right away.
He would be number one. He'd top it right away. Jacoby Myers, you can't trust him. Was it Bourne? You can't trust him. They've been using running backs like crazy, a.k.a. I got Damian Harris on my fantasy team.
And guys, their record's 5-4, right?
Yes.
I mean, this is a potential playoff team.
No, these guys – and their losses, too, they've only been, I think, blown out twice this season. They've been in contention to win every single game. And Mac Jones, he hasn't turned the ball over like we saw Cam Newton last year do. I could see a Patriots, as much as we would hate to see a Patriots run again, like, I could see it happen. I could see Odell going somewhere where he's going to be the guy that he wants to be, like he was with the Giants.
If he produces with them, they'll pay him next year. Where the Chiefs, this might be a 1-year rental.
Yeah, it might be like, hey, here's a couple, see, get out of here. We're not going to take you.
If I'm Odell, I really consider the Patriots because I know I'm the true WR1, and I will get 10 targets a game.
Yep.
If I come to the Chiefs, I might get 4 targets a game, maybe 5, and maybe 3 catches here or there. And my numbers are not going to look as good as they could on another team like the Patriots.
Right. All right, real quick, guys, just round table real quick. Yay or nay? Can't see the Chiefs, Odell Beckham Jr. Jason?
I'll take it. Sign me up.
Mike?
I'd love to have it.
I wouldn't mind having it either, man. Pair it with Josh Gordon, Tyreek Hill. Maybe Josh Gordon get involved. We might have a 3-headed monster going. So, all right, guys. Hey, let us know what you guys think in the comments here, where Odell's going, if he's a Chief, if he's not, kind of his best fit there. Leave it in the comments below. All right, guys. Keeping on the same topic of the Kansas City Chiefs here, we just got done with Week 9, barely beating Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. Our defense stepped up phenomenally this week. It was like a whole new defense. Anthony Hitchens got back healthy, and he looked really good. Chris Jones played majority inside. And then Melvin Ingram, who recently got traded from the Pittsburgh Steelers, he came in and he was pretty effective. I thought he was effective with the rush. He looked good, and he really helped out with that line there. What are your some takeaways from Week 9 real quick before we look at Week 10 here?
I mean, that's just the ugly win, Tanner. I mean, the Chiefs game was as ugly as it can get. I mean, the offense was off completely. Mahomes, I think, barely finished over 50% completion percentage in the game. Obviously, towards the end of the games, Mahomes made a play at the end, make a big play. That's great. I was obviously happy with the defense, but we got to keep that in perspective, considering we're going against Jordan Love, and the Packers wanted to play conservatively with Jordan Love, and for fear of turning the ball over, which sometimes ends up actually hurting you throughout a game when you do that.
If the Packers were smart, they would have just kept running the ball up with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon all freaking day.
I think I was a little surprised to see Melvin Ingram get as much playing time as he did, but I was happy with it. Like, I was happy to see him on the field because the Chiefs do need better edge rushers right now. They let go of Tano Passanio, obviously. Okafor is not getting the job done overall. And, otherwise, they lack a lot of those guys to come off the edge. And when Chris Jones was in that spot, he wasn't doing very well either. Moved him more inside. Now we're getting more push up the middle, which is great. But I think that, we saw one touchdown given up in this play, and it was by Daniel Sorensen. And we all know the common denominator of failure in this defense is still Daniel Sorensen. And you can talk about Ben Neiman over here, but truth is, we're starting to see the defense kind of click a little bit here. Ever since the Chiefs officially benched Sorensen in favor of more Juan Thornhill playing time, which we were all begging for weeks, boom, suddenly production started to come through, right? And so I'm hoping this is going to be a long-term thing as the season rolls on, as we saw Spagnuolo do during the Super Bowl run, where they peaked at the right time, and you saw this kind of steady incline of success over time. So I think this was a rough game overall. I'll take a win. A win's a win in the NFL. But can we get excited? It's hard to say right now.
Look at it as more of a confidence builder, right, for this defense. It's kind of what they needed. Even though it was Jordan Love in there, they needed something to show that, hey, if we had to hold a game, at least we can have some kind of confidence going in there and doing it. Jason, what did you see from this game here that concerned you to a point, possibly? I'm sure there was.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys in that it's always great to add another win to the win column, but also agree with Mike is that I'm not going to give the defense a whole lot of credit for going up against Jordan Love. It was first career start. They blitzed him all night, which was great. So, sure, of course the defense is going to look great, but overall the game was depressing for me. Mahomes was 20 of 37 for 166 yards and 1 touchdown.
So bad.
Granted, that's against a really good defense, but you're playing at home and you're Patrick Mahomes. You got to put up better numbers than that. I think the offense. We've been pounding about the offense for weeks, needing to do a better job of just taking what the defenses are giving them. So in this game, we had 37 pass attempts and about 23 rush attempts. So I want to see that ratio get a little bit closer to 50-50. It doesn't need to be right at 50-50, but I want a bigger commitment to the run game for the Chiefs, because I honestly think they could have scored more points in that game if they would have just kept their commitment to the run rather than trying to just sling the ball all over the place.
Yeah, that's very fair right there. That's a great call out there. I didn't see as much Derek Gore this game like we did the Giants game. I was kind of surprised.
Hey, Daryl ran great though.
Daryl did. I'm not anything against him. I just thought there'd be more of a split backfield situation, but Daryl, he ran phenomenal. Now the offense obviously I thought was the struggle bus this game by far. Mahomes, he just hasn't clicked yet, but there was that throw to seal the game to Tyreek Hill, and you saw him do the fist punch that we've been waiting for. The fist, just getting excited about. Is this the turning point for Mahomes to start getting back to Mahomes style ball? Is he starting to finally come out of that whatever down shield he has right now and getting back to Mahomes? Was that kind of a turning point? Because Aaron Rodgers even states it takes one play to either take your season positive or to keep it in the negative.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I think it was something Mahomes talked about in his interview afterwards, where he was talking about letting a lot of pressure out there after that play. He let a lot of emotion out after making that play there. And obviously it reminded me a lot of his rookie season, as a matter of fact, throw to Demarcus Robinson at the end of a game on 3rd and I think 15 maybe. And he threw it 20 yards, got a first down, and that was what converted it to where the Chiefs could kick a field goal to win the game. And this play looked almost identical to that. And I think that it could be a thing where, Mahomes gets his swagger back a little bit, because that's something he's always had on the field, and he's not feeling that swagger anymore. He's not feeling that confidence, and it's rare to see a guy like Mahomes be an unconfident kind of a quarterback. So he is in a funk, and he has been in a funk, and I hope that this is something, this game in particular, and he missed, multiple throws in this game, and take this somehow and build off that one throw. And that's going to be tough to do because, you still need guys to step up. You still need other guys to make plays. We can't rely on Tyreek Hill to make every big play. And that seems to be the theme, is like, when the going gets rough, we're going to go to Tyreek. Kelsey even dropped a couple passes last week. But, we still need more out of guys like, that are currently here. Not Odell Beckham, but out of, Demarcus Robinson and Mecole Hardman to step up when the ball's in your hands. Make the damn play.
Yes. Make the play. That's what you got to do. Jason, what do you take from Mahomes here after this last week?
Yeah, well, it was kind of disappointing. I heard Ryan Clark from ESPN actually say that Mahomes is 100% broken. Like, his game is 100% broken because he doesn't know how to check the ball down. And I thought that was a very ridiculous statement. I mean, I think Mahomes is just in a slump, as you guys have already said. And I do agree with Mike that I think seeing that one play to Tyreek Hill was kind of the waking of the sleeping giant, if you will. And I hope that that's the big step forward for him that he needs. And even though it was against a team with a backup quarterback, sometimes that's all you need, is just a hard-fought victory and one play to kind of turn around your mentality.
Yeah, I fully agree. So, guys, are we opening the door for Mahomes going into Raider week, right? Sunday Night Football. If I'm correct, Sunday Night Football, right?
So it's yes, it is. It's a huge game.
So excitement.
Tanner, this game right here dictates, honestly, the rest of the season. But it does more than you guys realize, because the rest of the season we have divisional matchups going across the board. We got the Broncos coming up twice, Chargers one more time, Raiders again after this weekend, obviously again. Like, this is going to be a plethora of games coming across here of tough matchups, but also kicking it off right by getting a win against a divisional rival like this, and especially a Raiders team who is in the shithole. I saw that shithole this past weekend, that big black shithole in Las Vegas. I saw it.
You had a good view of it, right?
Oh, yeah. But here's the thing, is that, this is their opportunity to go out there and, lay their foundation for what the rest of the season is going to mean. And
Correct.
so, who do they want to be? Do they want to be the team that turns the ball over every goddamn drive, or are they going to be the team who goes out there
somebody in the
and
mouth.
maybe runs it down your throat, and then Mahomes can beat you over the top every once in a while, and start sucking those safeties up a little bit and start making some plays down the field, and guys catching the damn ball when they need to catch the damn ball.
Exactly. I'm so excited for this game just to see, hey, we kind of had that turning point at the end of the game, week 9. Let's see it go into week 10, and let's just destroy these Raiders that just lost to the freaking Giants, for God's sake. Jason, what do you like coming into week 10 here?
The Chiefs are -2.5 in this game, so they are the favorite. Look at that Raiders defense. They do have the number 15 defense, but I think they're a little bit underrated this year because they do a good job of getting to the quarterback. Max Crosby has 5 sacks this year, and 2 of those came up against Lamar Jackson. So Raiders, they also have the number 11 offense in total yards. And so I think for me, it's about, are we going to have the defense actually show up against a legitimate opponent? Not like last week. Are they going to step up and be able to stop Darren Waller and Josh Jacobs and those guys? And then also, too, are they going to be able to get this offense going? The offense to me was just hot garbage in that last game. And so I want to see a little bit of continuity in the Chiefs offense. And for God's sake, put up more than 13 points. Can we at least put up
Can we get 30?
27? Can we get 27 points a game?
First one to 30 wins, like it always is. So, hey, guys, also, as we wrap up the Chiefs discussion here, Mahomes, 2 weeks in a row, had his lowest average yards, average yards per play. 2 weeks in a row. It was 4 yards per attempt. And then it was I think it was 3.7 versus the Giants. So hopefully we are getting away from that. We're going out and letting Mahomes do Mahomes things, and hopefully we're back to it. So let's hope for the Chiefs here to start killing the Raiders, especially the imploding Raiders right now.
Got to run the ball.
That's right. Well, guys, we're through 9 weeks. 9 weeks of living hell because the NFL referees, week in, week out, seem to be getting worse as we go about the every game. There's at least 3 to 4 calls that you're just like, how are you calling this? And it's pure to the eye. It's not like it's close play. It's like that Packers one against the Chiefs where he touched his foot. Sure, you might not have saw it live. I still feel like that was pretty like you should have seen it. But recently we had the Chicago Bears kind of be the spotlight of it all. And as you see this picture here, the referee basically backs up after a supposedly taunting call up to Marsh here, and then throws the flag after the guy bumps back and hits Marsh. And he says it's not part of that. Now, this is just a common theme with the referees this year, guys. I think it's the worst we've had it in the past 10 years. And that's saying something because we even had that playoff game with the Saints-Rams where the blatant interference call that cost the Saints a chance at the Super Bowl. What are you guys taking away here, Mike, Jason? What do you guys got for this referees this year? Is it the worst in 5-10 years it's been?
I don't know if it's the worst or not, but I know that we're going down the wrong road here with our officiating because basically every year the NFL goes into the offseason and they want to change rules. What ends up happening is they're changing rules to allow the referees to be more subjective towards the game. And when that happens, you're allowing for more leniency. And, as this referee, Tony Corrente, came out and said he felt that Cassius Marsh was making some kind of taunting move or whatever towards the sideline. And it's like, okay, we can't base our penalties off of your feelings. That is not what this game is supposed to be about. Because you feel that way does not mean that the intention was this or that. It's like, at that point, it's already bad enough pass interference is such a subjective call. Where now we're letting our feelings get in the way of taunting. And what makes it worse is, guys, just like the picture you just saw there on the screen, is that this referee literally stuck his ass out and booty bumped Marsh as Marsh was running back to the huddle. Like, He did not make one move to get out of the way. He purposefully bent over, put his waist out to kind of hip check. And Marsh talked about it after the game. And this was extremely unprofessional. These guys need to be held accountable. Referees need to be held accountable in the NFL, just like players are for the things they do. Sometimes players get out of hand every once in a while. And sometimes they even get fined for things they shouldn't be fined for. Where, Jason, you and I went to a NFL referee, what do you want to call this? It was a
symposium.
Symposium, yes. We went to that, it was less than a year ago. And we talked with these guys who've been involved in the NFL for a long time. And head referees, there was a couple of them there, as a matter of fact. We got to ask questions and all that. And, obviously you asked a couple of good questions during that, Jason. But I think that even though these are guys who, say they're just trying to, do their job and try to call fair games, and they wouldn't admit to swaying games one way or the other, I think we could kind of pick up on the fact that they do have makeup calls. I think that's something that we see that is genuinely a thing in the NFL. But at the same time, just the quality of product needs to be held to a standard, just like the players are held to their standards on the field of how they need to act. Referees should absolutely be fined and fired, and we never see that happen in the NFL. They let referees do whatever the hell they want.
That's correct. And this year, they have New York, who supposedly is watching every game, that can override a call by any means. Exactly what I heard. And I was like, okay, so what's New York doing? Are they just snoozing?
Where's the accountability is my problem.
Are they getting drunk?
Referees get no accountability at all for any other calls they make.
And it's not just referees. It's supposedly the guys that are supposed to be watching, that's supposed to be in the referee's ear, be like, hey, you got to overturn this or you got to review this. And they're not doing it. They're not doing anything right there, and it's frustrating. And I've tweeted out multiple times here on our Twitter, and it's just not Chiefs. I don't just tweet Chiefs game by any means. It's literally across the NFL week to week. Jason, what do you got here on this referee situation?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Mike, about the symposium that we went to. That was actually before the season started or during the off season. And I remember asking one of the officials if there was such a thing as payback calls. And obviously I already know the correct answer to that, but I also already knew the answer that he would give me, which is that there's no evidence of that. But yeah, as far as the emotional response topic is concerned, that's a huge problem. I agree with you, Mike, that if they're making any decisions based on emotion rather than logic, we all know that that's a huge problem in life, not just in NFL officiating. That's a huge problem with people in life that try to make important decisions, not based on logic, but based on their emotions. But a positive thing that I did see come out of this weekend is when I was watching that Monday night game against the Bears and Steelers, I did notice that the announcers, Steve Levy and Louis Riddick, those guys never hesitated to call these officials out the moment that they made a terrible call. They did it every single time. And so I think that's part of the solution here is that we need to see more of these announcers call out these officials for making terrible calls, because if the announcers don't do it on national TV, I mean, then nobody's going to call them out. And so that was one thing that I saw that was good that came out of the weekend. And that's something that needs to continue. But as far as just the bad calls are concerned in general, I mean, I have my own theories on that. I mean, I think maybe a lot of the officials are high on drugs. Maybe there's a particular substance causing them to make bad decisions. Now, I can't imagine what that substance might be. You guys can tell me your own thoughts on that.
It could be this thing called money. That could be the substance that could be affecting things.
Yeah, that's true. But, I don't know if they're on drugs or, taking banned or unbanned substances or what. But the calls have been terrible this year. So, who knows? They got to figure out a way to reverse that and fix these bad decisions that they're making.
Yeah. Mike, did you have something here you wanted to share with the podcast here? You had a tweet from Jamel Hill on Ryan Clark. Kind of talking about the taunting penalty here. So we're going to share that. We'll watch it here real quick here.
Yeah, I love what was said here by Ryan Clark about the situation.
So here we go here.
I think you can't make this call subjective. If there's going to be certain rules or certain things that are officiated in this, they need to be definitive. I need to know that I can't stare at people. I need to know that I can't flex my muscles. I need to know that what I've worked my entire life to do, the thing that I've stayed up from 5 a.m. till midnight every single night, the thing that I've gotten therapy and needles stuck from my neck to my ankles, the reason I've been in cold tubs and hot tubs every single morning, and the reason I've ran through film 80 million times was so I can make that one play. And you mean to tell me on that one play, I got to calm all that down that went into this because somebody who can't do what I do, who ain't never done what I done, and don't know what this feeling is like, gets offended by it? And I wish I freaking would. So go.
That's a great, just a great segment right there, Brian.
Yeah.
Like what the players are feeling, and
Yeah.
exactly, this taunting rule is ridiculous. It should be gone because it's not helping anybody. They did this with the NFL celebrations, and guess what? It was fine central because you had Tio and Chad Ochocinco there.
Right.
So,
I mean, these are all grown guys. I mean, like, come on, okay, I don't even know exactly Marsh did because Marsh is on Twitter right now defending himself even about the incident.
So basically, he stepped towards the sideline after the tackle or the sack.
Mm-hmm.
He'd stepped towards the Pittsburgh sideline at first, but he didn't do really nothing. Maybe jawing a little bit, but nothing outlandish by any means. And then on his way back, that's when the referee bump came. And then he's blaming on that.
Yeah, so he stepped toward the sideline, but he was nowhere near the sideline. He was clear in the middle of the field.
You're midfield. Yeah.
And the referee didn't throw the flag and went until he stuck his ass out and then hit the guy. And he grabs that flag and he goes, woof. He just chucks that thing in the air like he's like throwing a grenade or something. I mean, that dude, he was pumped. Tony Corrente was pumped to throw that flag right there.
He was ready.
And you know what? How come that's not offensive? You know what I mean? Because everyone's wanting to be offended all the time. Well, obviously he's upset about whatever Marsh did. Well, I think that as a football fan, we should all be a little pissed off about how the way referees are dictating these games. And even though I was on an airplane during this game, from what I understand, this game had a lot of bad calls, not just this one.
A lot.
Tony Corrente was the MVP of this game.
Yes, it was definitely a Steelers fan with that one with the yellow flags there. So hopefully we're going to see better referee calls later. I doubt it. I think it's just going to get worse as we go. But hey, guys, let's transition here to our favorite stuff here. Fantasy football time, guys. We are in week 10, and we are in the middle of prime heat playoff runs here, right? We're trying to get to the playoffs. We got to turn around our teams. If you're 500, such as me, you're trying to figure out keys, and hopefully your players actually perform well. Now, we kind of went through. We have 3 players for you guys. We're going to talk about our ride or dies, essentially, like what players are going to get us through to this playoff push, potentially a championship into fantasy football through not just week 10, but maybe the next few weeks as we enter the prime time of it all here. You know what, Mike? We're going to start with you here. Who is your fantasy football week 10 ride or die player?
Perfect. I wanted to bring this up because I want people out there that are watching right now going into week 10 to start planning for your playoff run. And so this is the moment where you probably have 1 week left to do a trade before the deadline comes. And at that point, you got what you got. At that point, you're stuck. And I want people to make one last move to propel themselves come weeks 15, 16, 17, be ready for all that. And, because the main thing right now, and what I've done in the past when I've had a successful season, right now, I'm going to say it, I'm number 1 in our league. What you do right here, you take those guys on the back end of your roster. If you've had enough depth throughout the year, you start then doubling. You trade 2 of those away to get one piece of something that you're not quite sure about on your starting roster. And so you're starting to get rid of those guys on the bottom end and not worry about them as much because you cared about depth throughout the year, where now you're caring more about your starters and how that's going to be there come 15, 16, 17 when the bye weeks are all done and you're just trying to put out the best guys that you can on your roster. I got Leonard Fournette actually as my guy for you all. And the reason for that is that we're starting to see things start moving along with this guy. Ronald Jones has had barely any playing time all year. Giovanni Bernard's not reliable to be on the field. And, he's obviously gotten older as well. I think he's 30, 31, something like that. So his last 3 games of the season for you all are against the Saints, Panthers, and then Week 17, championship weekend, is against the Jets. And so Tom Brady's not going to be playing or throwing the ball 50 times in that game. But, Leonard Fournette could easily be getting 20, 25 carries in that game because he's getting the ball more on the ground here as weeks progress. His last 4 weeks, he's averaging 18 points per game for your fantasy roster. So we're starting to see him heat up. And here towards the back end, this is a guy who the current owner of Leonard Fournette might be feeling a little unsure about his current asset right there at running back. He's currently still in the top 20 of all running backs in fantasy and PPR, but it's also a guy that's probably tradable if you go ask the right owner. So I say go get Leonard Fournette. That's your guy that you can be plugging in starting as either a flex or your RB2 down the stretch of the season. And you're looking at potentially getting some big upside because they liked him a lot in the playoffs last year, didn't they, Tanner? We remember that.
They did.
Fournette was
very heavy with him, too.
And so, right now we're sitting at only 101 rushing attempts on the season with another, probably 7-8 games left to go of him. I think we're seeing him starting to pick up steam, and look, he's your guy to watch out for. Get him on your roster as quick as you can.
And their bye is actually, this week? So, the
Last
bye's
week.
already gone last week. The bye's last week. So,
Right.
that's already done.
Exactly.
So, you don't have to worry about another bye.
Bye
This guy
week
is a
out.
straight playthrough.
Boom.
That's what I like. And then just kind of touching base on your advice here, you also got to keep an eye out for injuries, guys, so you get that waiver wire pickups, right? Harris, Stevenson, those are the guys that are injured right now. But if you can go out and get those guys if you're struggling at running backs, both of those guys are kind of be interdimensional right there. So there's some players there to kind of keep an eye on the waiver wire, especially as injuries happen, aka the Derrick Henry situation. Jason, who's your ride and die player here as we try to get to the playoffs?
One guy, Tanner and Mike, that I'm going to ride or die with all the way to the championship if I've got him is Austin Eckler, running back of the LA Chargers. And the reason I've got him is not just because he's the running back 3 right now in fantasy, but it's that upcoming schedule. So as we get closer to the end of the year, he's got Cincinnati in week 13. He's got the Giants in week 14. Then the Chiefs, the Texans, and then week 17 at home against Denver. So we all know what he can do. He can run the ball, catch the ball. And so that is not a great list of teams that he's going to have to play against in terms of, teams that could maybe stop him. So I'm going to go with Austin Eckler there.
I love that pick. That's a solid pick. He is not going to go wrong because especially with Mike Williams there, not getting as many targets and receptions, he's kind of banged up supposedly, even though he's not on the injury report for whatever reasons. Keenan Allen, he's your only wide receiver target. Eckler seems to be the dump off guy because the Chargers kind of look struggled too.
Chargers defense has not been very good this year too.
No.
So Eckler's going to get that ball in the passing game even more as time goes on, I think. So yeah, Eckler is a great pick here, and Eckler, as long as he's healthy, he's going to be a great one to roll with all the way to week 17.
That's right. So, guys, I got a guy, Tennessee Titans here. Derrick Henry went down. Titans are looking for a new identity. They just went out and beat the brakes off of the Rams for whatever reason. Now, this guy didn't do particularly too well, but Jalen Ramsey was covering. A.J. Brown, wide receiver. So, hate on here. Hey, now I know that people are like, oh, he's an automatic starter. No, he's not. On my ESPN league, he's on my bench because I got other guys around me. Kupp would be one. DeAndre Hopkins be another that can start ahead. But this is a guy that you might have picked early, maybe the first 3 or 4 rounds. And if you have him on your bench right now, look to start him. The guy's schedule is phenomenal coming up here outside of his bye in week 13. Yes, he had 10 points. It's all right. You'll be okay because Tannehill is going to be looking for this guy. New Orleans, who's ranked 4th to get points against on the wide receivers. Your only big struggle you're looking against for that would hurt a wide receiver range is New England in week 12 and week 16 San Francisco. But we all know how the 49ers are looking, right? They're not very good. They just lost to Colt McCoy in the Arizona Cardinals with 1, 2, 3, 4 starters out, right? Edmonds, Green, Hopkins, Murray, all gone, right, for that game, and then he went out and destroyed them. I'm not worried about the 49ers game come week 16, possibly most people's championship game. I just think he's going to still produce really well as long as he can stay healthy. He does have a nagging knee injury that seems to be bring up after each week, but by the time Sunday comes around, he's been healthy. So I'd look at AJ Brown. The guy's going to be the number one target for Tannehill. Julio Jones isn't doing anything on the other side. Either he can't get open or Tannehill's just not looking for him. And Adrian Peterson, guys, he's going to be an effective run guy, but he's not going to be Derrick Henry. So AJ Brown, he's going to be your guy. He could be potentially your number one here come here in about 3 weeks to be your solid wide receiver to get you through this championship run. So, I mean, you guys, any other comments here on the fantasy football, guys?
No, I mean, I think that basically what Jason's talking about with Eckler is that, obviously don't give him away, no matter what the offer is. Hold on to him. And Tanner, what you and I were probably talking about here was that you can maybe make a move for both of these guys. Yeah. AJ Brown should be on your list, and I think Leonard Fournette could be on your list for cheap as well. Just gotta kind of finagle a little bit and talk to the owners, but you got 1 week left, guys. Most teams' trade deadlines are going to be after this weekend, so the time's running out. Time to get that roster solidified and start doing what I said. Take it from the bottom, and then take 2, and then pair it into 1, and then boom, you got an extra starters. So that's the goal, guys. You got to have strategy with your trades.
All right, before we move on, I got one question I have to ask you guys this. Have to. As Chiefs fans, right? Patrick Mahomes, he has scored what he scored. Pretty lousy points the last 3 weeks. Are we looking at him to be part of your championship playoff push?
I mean, sure. I mean, if he's available in your league, then make a move and try to get him. I mean, you got to understand the upside here because, just because the guy's sitting with like currently 20 touchdowns, 10 interceptions on the year does not mean he can't finish with, 42 and 15 by the end of this whole thing. He's still Patrick Mahomes, and if things can get back rolling on the right track, then you're still going to get a quarterback with high upside.
All right, Jason, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a buy low candidate for me because you should have probably quite a few teams out there that are just getting tired of him at this point. And if you've got a piece that their team needs, then maybe you can make him a good offer, and maybe they're just done with him. They want to offload him, so he's definitely a good buy low candidate.
Yeah, and most teams here drafted Patrick Mahomes number 1 overall, as you kind of saw along the board. If you look up the fantasy stats here, a lot of people drafted Patrick Mahomes as your number 1 overall pick. So there might be kind of stubborn, but I kind of like it. If you can get him for a low cost, get him now while he's struggling. So, all right, guys, we're gonna jump into our updated NFL power rankings here. Week 10, as we enter week 10 power rankings, I don't have the cool graphics like I've had before showing our previous ones, but we're going to knock it down to just 5 teams, our top 5 teams for NFL power rankings as we enter week 10, despite the challenges from last weekend. And even the Detroit Lions lost a bye week, guys. That was their week to win. So let's see what we got. Jason, you want to kick us off with number 5?
Yeah, let's kick it off, guys. Number 5. Number 5, I've got the Tennessee Titans. This is my first time in a while having an AFC team on this list, so I thought I would change it up a little bit. Titans are 7-2, and their defense has recorded interceptions in each of their last 6 games. So this team they're overachieving a little bit. I don't necessarily expect them to be on this list by the end of the year, but for now, I've got them at number 5.
Mike, what do you got?
I got the Green Bay Packers right here, number 5. I wanted to move them up a little bit more, but I'm slightly more impressed with what I'm seeing going on with a couple other teams right now. So Packers, maybe if they had actually defeated the Chiefs, I could put them up there at number 3 or so. But this is a good team, and they're going to be there probably for that NFC Championship again.
All right, number 5 for me, guys, here. I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. Tom Brady and them guys just continue to roll. I feel like there's more impressive resumes out there currently ahead of them. But don't get me wrong, Tampa Bay is going to be for sure in the mix. And running for that Super Bowl contention there. Jason, what we got for 4?
Number 4. Number 4, I do have the Tampa Bay Bucks. They're 6-2. Their remaining schedule, guys, is basically a bunch of high school teams. So they're by no means going to be battle tested by the end of the year. But hey, you can only beat the teams that are in front of you. So yeah, I got the Bucks, number 4.
Mike?
Yeah, for me, this one right here, you got to give a lot of credit to the Tennessee Titans here. The Titans whooped up on the Chiefs, and they've done their job against some of the best teams in the NFL to this point. So sitting at 7-2, plus getting a great dominant victory without Derrick Henry at LA Rams. I mean, this is a team that could be scary right now because there's a lot to work with. And even without Henry, they're still working it. They're still rolling it. So, and the defense is getting better. So Titans are a team to watch out for. I mean, if the Chiefs played them again in the postseason, Titans probably going to whoop up again.
Be a tough one. Number 4 for me, guys, is the LA Rams. The only reason that they're at 4 for me is because they lost to 2. Their 2 losses are 2 winning teams, Arizona and now the Tennessee Titans. You got to perform better here. I know you beat the Bucks here, and that's why I put you ahead of it. But man, you got to perform here. We gotta get something figured out. You should be more consistent. You should definitely be on the high end of the league, especially with that defense and Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp connection. So number 4, LA Rams for me.
Number 3. I've got the LA Rams at number 3. They are 7-2. They've got the number 11 defense, which is slightly better than that Tennessee defense overall. But they definitely still have a better offense than Tennessee. So I got the Rams at number 3.
Mike?
Yeah, number 3 for me. So, guys, I actually have the Rams at number 6 on my list. But I got to go with the Baltimore Ravens right now. And the reason being that they're overcoming a lot. They're overcoming all the losses of personnel and still going into the season right now, sitting at 6-2. Lamar Jackson has had another 100-yard game. And this is a battle-tested team who's gone through some tough games so far and prevailed. So, I mean, yeah, they got a couple losses right now. One was to the Bengals. But, you know, I think this is a team that you don't want to worry about facing in the playoffs because it's not going to be an easy stretch by any means.
That's right. Lamar doing Lamar things, man. Number 3 for me, guys, is the Tennessee Titans. I've just been really impressed with their defense. I talked about it last week or maybe just the week before, but their defense is slowly progressing after their horrible start because they look pretty crappy going through at least 5 weeks of that. So I think the Titans defense has finally has come to life, right? They've kind of figured stuff out. And then as far as the offensive side, Tannehill knows he has to step up. That line's looking a little bit better, even though they're facing Aaron Donald, right? It still looked better. I think there's still more to give, especially with their running game. But I do like the Titans at 3, and they've kind of shown it. They just made Matt Stafford look like he was with the Detroit Lions again. So I'm going 3, Tennessee Titans.
Number 2. Number 2, I've got the 7-2 Green Bay Packers, which should actually be the 8-1 Packers, except for the NFL benched Aaron Rodgers in that last game. So they've got a great defense, guys, number 6 in the NFL. So give me that Green Bay Packers defense. And then obviously you got your reigning MVP coming back soon.
There we go. Mike?
See, I don't care about the 2 losses here, but the Buccaneers are still the number 2 team in the league to me right now because you're still working with the best group of talent offensively as well as defensively in the league, athletically standpoint. I think the Buccaneers are just going to be a team, one of those teams that just rolls. Like, once it comes time for things to really matter in this league, I still think they're going to be there in the championship game, maybe in the Super Bowl. I mean, this is a team that you can't ever count out. And to me, like, right now, you got 4 teams in the NFC that are realistically potentially able to go to the Super Bowl, and Buccaneers are one of those teams. And so I think I got to put them number 2 right now.
All right. Number 2, guys, for me is the Green Bay Packers. Exactly where I had them last week. Yes, they lost to the Chiefs. No Aaron Rodgers. They wouldn't have lost in the first place. I agree with Jason there. Look, when you have Aaron Rodgers, you have a chance at any time. So I'm going number 2, Green Bay. Jason, number 1, baby.
Number 1. I'm going to go with the 8-1 Arizona Cardinals. They had Colt McCoy as their quarterback in that last game. Still were able to beat the 49ers. Should get Kyler and DeAndre Hopkins back sooner rather than later. And they've got the number 3 overall defense. So I'll go Cardinals number 1.
Look at Jason giving credit to the Arizona team. About damn time.
It only took 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving them the credit they deserve all along.
Only
I
took
know.
10 weeks.
I know I hate Arizona teams, but just whatever you do, don't get me started on the Phoenix Suns owner.
Is the
All
Cardinals
right.
finishing last still?
Yeah, you had Cardinals finishing last. Anyways, guys, yeah, Cardinals number 1. You guys know I love Arizona. And I had them bet in Las Vegas, and I won that bet. So even with rolling with Colt McCoy, still got a victory. Didn't matter. So, yeah, Arizona number 1.
Same. Number 1, Arizona. There's no reason to knock them off that spot yet. They just beat a 49ers team who I know isn't that good. And now they're questioning Shanahan if he's even that good. I don't think Shanahan's bad by any means. But, I mean, I'd go, yeah, Cardinals number 1. That's the easy pick. James Conner is getting ready to run it for the next 3 weeks as Edmonds is out. So watch for Conner in your fantasy league, too. If you have him, start him. All right, guys. Well, that wraps up our updated NFL Power Rankings as we enter Week 10 here. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, we must appreciate it as well. Leave a subscribe, follow, like, hit that bell so you get notified when we go live or we post videos. If you're on Twitch, which is, like I said, it's the first time we've been on Twitch in over a year, make sure you guys follow and like that video as well. We appreciate seeing you guys once again. And, of course, everybody else, Facebook, on Audacity, Anchor, Spotify, etc., Apple. Thank you guys for listening as well. Mike, Jason, one last thing before we go. You got anything?
Yeah, just guys, give us questions anytime. So talk about fantasy every week, of course. Anytime you have a fantasy question, send it in. We love hearing about it. We love to answer. So, but otherwise, I mean, thank you for joining.
Jason, you got anything?
Thank you, guys. Make sure you check out our TikToks. We got to get some more on there pretty soon, one of these days. Sports Buffoons, we're out.
That's right. We'll have that in. Hey, congrats to Coach K here and his final season in NCAA basketball of Duke men's basketball. It's going to be an exciting season for him that potentially win championship. Anyways, guys, we'll see you next time.